Thanks for tuning in to another one, guys. We got a lot to get to in terms of AFC, NFC Championship weekend, a lot of controversy. But we'll go ahead and jump right into the Gopher basketball game tonight, men's Gopher basketball, taking on number 5 Michigan at Michigan. This is going to be a huge game for the Gophers.
Yeah, I mean, I think unlike any other sport, I think home field advantage in college basketball is huge.
Oh, it's ginormous.
Not saying that it's not big in any other sport, but I think in college basketball particularly, it's the biggest advantage you can have in a game.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree.
Just because,
that.
I mean, you have student sections who are right there on the court, basically, and I mean, I think that's a huge thing. So,
well, I mean, not to mention it's going to number 5 Michigan.
Exactly.
So they're going to be rocking. Gophers coming off a win against Penn State at home. Ugly win, but a win nonetheless.
Exactly, and I mean that's the biggest thing here is they're riding a little bit of a high. So let's hope that they can bring that into this game. What is the key to the Gophers winning this game?
You know, obviously we need to get to the line. I've said this time and time again. We need to get to the line. We need to, make our free throws and then obviously not turn the ball over. You can't have any mistakes against a top 10 team. And, I mean, this is going to make, this is leaps and bounds for the Gophers to make it into the tournament, especially after losing so bad to Illinois. I mean, everybody's saying Illinois, which was 2 games ago, was a trap game. But, I mean, if you're a good team, you have to win those games, especially if you want to get into the tournament. And I think this would be a big jump forward for the Gophers and maybe even catapult them into the top 25.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that they need to do is do what Illinois did to Minnesota, which is come out and punch them in the mouth.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what
exactly.
They did. They forced a lot of turnovers. They created a lot of tough shots for Minnesota. And then,
the
most
shots.
impressive thing, was the 3-pointers. It didn't feel like they missed the 3 in that game.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, it was frustrating. I had to turn that game off at half just because it was so frustrating.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like you're saying, you got to come out, punch them in the face, quiet that crowd.
Yeah,
I was looking at the stats against Penn State. Penn State, I believe, shot over 50% from the threes. So, I mean, we got to limit that, and we shot 25%, I think, exactly from 3. So, I mean, we either need to stop taking threes and get the ball inside, to Aturu and to Murphy, or, if we're going to shoot them, we got to make them.
Well, I think the biggest thing tonight is just which team shows up. We've seen a Gopher team that's dominant and plays really well, and then we've seen a Gopher team that underperforms.
No, and I absolutely agree. And that underperforming team is definitely at Illinois, and then, Penn State. They didn't look good. Thankfully, they got the win. That's the biggest thing, and that was a conference game. We needed that game. But, we need to show up for this one.
So what is your pick for tonight's game?
I I would love to pick Minnesota just because I always pick Minnesota, but I think Michigan probably takes this one pretty easily.
I think Minnesota puts up a fight. I think if they do win it, it's in the last couple seconds, maybe a buzzer beat or something like that. But, I mean, I just don't know if they can overcome Michigan at Michigan. That's going to be the biggest
And that's
thing.
the thing where I think if they end up winning, I actually think it ends up being big for the Gophers because Michigan didn't come to play. I think it could be a trap game like it was for Illinois against Minnesota.
For sure. And I just got a breaking news update. So, Mariano Rivera is the first unanimous player to be selected into the Hall of Fame. What is your take on that?
I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Exactly.
He is easily the best closer we have ever seen in the
and just one of the best baseball players of all.
Oh,
I
for sure.
mean, he was a very talented person. Also, adding to that list, we got Edgar Martinez, Roy Halladay, and Mike Mussina.
Roy Halladay, we grew up watching him pretty much, playing for the Phillies. He absolutely deserves it. It was tragic news to hear that he died in a plane crash, but he absolutely deserved it. But getting back to Mariano Rivera, I mean, being a New York Yankee, you want to hate him so bad. Alex Rodriguez, and it's tough to hate Jeter, but you hate him. But, I mean, Mariano.
But some of them make it really easy to hate them. I think Mariano Rivera was one of those guys that it was really hard to hate him.
It's kind of like a Jeter.
Exactly.
It's hard to hate him just because he plays the sport so well. But,
for sure.
I agree. That's a no-brainer.
For sure. And to go on the Roy Halladay thing, I mean, I think that's a no-brainer as well. I think Roy Halladay, when he was playing, was just dominant.
Oh, for sure.
And I mean,
there was a time where he was untouchable, especially in the World Series. They couldn't be touched.
For sure. So now, I mean, since we're already on the topic of baseball, let's talk about the Twins this year. So Vegas just released their prediction for this year, and it's coming in at 85 and 77. Where do you think that puts the Twins in terms of the division, and also just as a season for themselves?
If in terms of the division, if we go 85 and 77, I actually think we can take the division with that record. Maybe a second wild card, but we talked about this a few weeks ago, and I wasn't too high on the Twins And still, with what they've done, I don't think they go 85-77. I'm thinking more around 500. And I honestly think they actually are going to miss the playoffs. So I like it as a Twins fan, of course. I don't agree with it.
See, and I'm going to go polar opposite. I mean, I think this is low. I think the Twins win 90 games. I would love to see the Twins win 90 games this year. And I don't think that there's any reason they can't. You play a lot of division games, and their division sucks.
And, the thing I didn't talk about the last time we talked about this is, and I totally forgot, we have Nelson Cruz now. And I think he could be a huge veteran leader, especially for Miguel Sano. And if Sano could stay healthy, he could easily hit over 30 bombs. Him and Nelson Cruz hitting over 30. Even, Rosario can hit over 20. Kepler could hit over 20.
Not to mention we got Jonathan Schoop, and he might hit over 20
He could
as
hit
well.
over 20.
And we got that new first baseman from the Rays who hit over 30 last year.
So, now that we're talking about it, I could see 85 and 77 actually pretty easy, but it all depends on if we can hit the ball. And actually, we've never really had a problem hitting the ball.
It's been errors. We've been top of the league in errors for the last 3 seasons.
Well, errors, and it always goes back to pitching.
For sure.
I don't think we've done enough pitching.
We haven't done anything to change our pitching.
Not really. So, we just signed, honestly, I can't remember who it was. We just signed somebody, but he was over 6 in the ERA.
Well, my biggest thing is the biggest determining factor for me is to see if Gibson can progress to where we want him to be. If he can be what we want him to be this year, I think we.
And Jose Barrios really needs to take the next step. His stuff is electric, but he needs to be consistent and sound the whole year for the Twins to make playoffs.
For sure. I would love 85 and 77. I'm thinking more optimistic. I think we can do it, but only the season will tell.
I will say if Nelson Cruz can stay healthy and Miguel Sano can stay healthy, they both hit 30, they may get around 85 and 77.
So now let's talk about the most controversial thing from this week. Let's talk about the championship round. So we have the Patriots going against the Chiefs and the Saints going against the Rams. Rams obviously ended up winning that game. Super controversial play. First, I just want to get your take on the game.
The game itself, this was one of the best weeks that we've had for football in a long time. 2 overtime games. And the Saints actually came out and punched the Rams in the mouth. It was 14-0, going into the half. But I thought it was a really good game. It was really surprising to see how bad Todd Gurley was.
For sure.
He had 2 drops, and the first drop resulted in a pick.
Well, the first drop, he basically threw it to the
pretty much,
linebacker
yeah, pretty
for
much.
A pick. And that's huge.
And before it's kind of a foreshadow, obviously, to what progressed, and everybody knows what we're talking about. But if you look at it, the Saints kicked 2 field goals to start the game.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even have gotten that far for the Saints. Talking about their controversial call, but if they could just, take care of business, it could have easily been 21-0 going in.
For sure. You have to give credit to the Rams defense in the second half, though. They came out and played very well.
Well, even in the first half,
For sure.
holding them to field goals.
For sure. So now let's get to the meat of this conversation. We have the big no call on the pass interference. I just want, when you saw this, what did you think?
Honestly, as soon as I saw it, I was looking for flags. I absolutely was looking for flags, and being a Minnesota fan, it's awesome to see it happen to the Saints because no other fan base needs it more than the Vikings to see that happen to the Saints, especially coming back from Bountygate. But that should have been called. It absolutely should have been called.
Well, that was my thing. I didn't even look for a flag because I was like, that's a flag. There's no way. There's no way that they miss a flag that's that far off. And when I saw the play initially, I was baffled. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't see a flag, and so, there's not much you can do there.
No, there's really not. But it just goes to show you, I'm curious to see what the repercussions will be for this reffing crew.
And I don't think there will be any.
It never happens. If you go back to the Seattle game against Minnesota, where the linebacker
Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner jumped over the freaking line, and they didn't call a flag.
No,
and then
they
the
did
NFL
call a flag, and they picked it up.
Yeah, and that goes, and then the league came out and said that was a flag. And you know what happened from there? No
nothing.
suspension.
Well, that's the same thing that happened here. The league immediately comes out and says that we made a mistake.
Yeah,
and it's like, but that's not a regular season game like the Vikings game was. Obviously, the Vikings game had huge implications.
Yeah,
because that led to us missing the playoffs. But this is a divisional round game or championship round game going to the Super Bowl.
This decided history, really.
For sure. Drew Brees does not get 4 more opportunities there and not get a touchdown. That's all I'm saying.
And that could very well tarnish his, reputation. I still think he's going to get into the Hall of Fame, but he could very well be missing. I'm not saying he would have went and won the Super Bowl because we all know
why not?
The Patriots, but I mean.
But why not? Why doesn't he go on and win the Super Bowl? That's my
Well,
thing.
I mean, you run into the Patriots.
But give him the opportunity to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Their
exactly.
defense is better than the Patriots. Their offense is just as good.
For sure.
So, I think that this is just blatant.
But this sucks for Drew Brees because he's, 39 going on 40 years old already. Who knows if they even go back to this,
Well, he had one of the best
playoffs.
seasons of his life. So if you 74.5, something like that, 4.4 completion percentage. That's crazy.
I mean, that's well ahead what history had.
Exactly.
I think it was like 71% or something like that.
71 or 72. Yeah, because it was Sam Bradford who said it for the Vikings, which was 70. I believe it was 71 point something percent.
Something like that.
But my biggest thing is why can't they go in and beat the Patriots? And now you strip that away from them on a stupid play. So call the flag, right? They get the ball at the 4-yard line, whatever it is, with a first down. There's like a minute and 20 left. They run the ball 3 times, and the Rams only had 2 timeouts. They kick a field goal, and the game's over.
But that makes me, ask you this because I mean they were first. It was first down on the 20, whatever it happened to be, and they throw the ball and it stops the clock.
Well, that's what they did. They threw the ball 3 times, and that baffled me.
I mean,
why don't you run the ball 3 times? If they run the ball 3 times in that situation, the Rams get the ball with 1 minute left, and they're down by a field goal.
Well, and that just goes back to Sean Payton. Sean Payton is not as good as everybody says he is because he made the bonehead mistake to not play sideline defense against the Vikings in the Minneapolis Miracle.
For sure.
And then he comes out and throws the ball.
Yeah.
That's just stupid.
It's stupid.
That's the dumbest thing ever. I mean, and the only reason why they were there, everybody talks about Sean Payton. Oh, he's such a great coach. This was Drew Brees. And this ruined Drew Brees. I think it's going to be his final chance at a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
The only person that you can pretty much pencil in going to the championship is, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Because, I mean, if you go back 2 years, the Saints weren't even in or 3 years, Saints weren't even in playoffs.
For sure.
So,
obviously, big thing there. I think the NFL needs to take steps to.
And we'll talk about that later.
For sure.
But yeah, I actually thought that was the better game of the weekend. They were both great games.
For sure.
The next game we're going to talk about, obviously, Patriots and Chiefs. That was a hell of a game.
For sure. I mean, I wanted the Chiefs to win this more than anything, just because
we're tired of seeing the Patriots.
It's a broken record at this point. I mean, I really wanted to see Mahomes do well. I think he did well.
Yeah, he played pretty well.
But I think he missed a lot of passes. I mean, if you go back and watch that, he missed a lot of wide open passes.
Yeah, he definitely missed some passes, but I mean, this just goes to show you that, oh my God, if you don't have a defense, you're not going to do anything, especially against the Patriots.
Well, and I remember, I think it might have been Colin Cowherd, somebody like that. Somebody big was saying that, it might have been Stephen A. Smith, either way. He was saying that defense is dead in the NFL. I think that's a joke. That is a joke beyond jokes.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, we're kind of going to jump ahead here, obviously, but I mean, you go to that overtime coin flip, and the Patriots get the ball, and everybody's like, well, game's over. Well, if you had a defense, that's where defense comes into play.
Not only that, but I mean, don't allow Tom Brady to just ruin you.
Well, I mean, you put up 37 points. So, exactly. I mean, if you got a defense, you're probably not putting up 37 points. Maybe with these high-powered offenses, you're going to see that average climb. Maybe you're at 20 points, 25 points.
Well, that's what saved the Rams.
You put up 25 points, and you score 31.
For sure.
You're winning the game.
For sure.
So, I mean, that kind of leads us to, talk about the overtime rules. I want your take, and then I'll give mine on how you think the overtime should be played. Because I think Patrick Mahomes should have had one more chance.
I think what they should do in the NFL, and I mean, this is just spitballing off the top of my head, I think they should just play another quarter. Instead of maybe 15 minutes, do a 10-minute quarter, and that's it. If a team is good enough to hold the ball for 10 minutes and then kick a field goal, then good on them. I mean, they should win that game.
I mean, that's a great
drive.
drive.
My thing is let's put 10 minutes back on the clock and play a game.
But let me ask you this, then if 10 minutes runs out, do you just go ahead and do another 10 minutes? Do you just keep doing that?
Sure, why not?
I mean, I think they can come up with a way more creative, way to solve this.
It doesn't even have to be a creative. Just make it so that it doesn't rely so much on the coin flip.
Yeah, no, and I agree because, like I was saying, everybody's been talking about this. Once the Patriots won the coin flip, it's done.
The Patriots' defense is just as bad as the Chiefs' defense was. So it was literally whoever won that coin toss was going to win the game.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because you could march down.
Because you could pretty much say if Patrick Mahomes if the Chiefs
could have done the same exact thing.
Could have done the same thing. And that's where I'm going to give my take is I think forget about the clock. yes, I mean, it could get long, but I think they should forget about the clock in the overtime. And, if the first team goes down and scores a touchdown, great. Then the next team has to go down and score a touchdown. And they just continue to keep doing that.
And the same with the field goal. If you score a field goal, the other team gets a chance. And if they score a touchdown, game's
then
over.
the game's over. It's kind of like a college deal, but it's not where they're starting at the 25. I don't like that. For college,
I wouldn't
that's
even mind
fine.
that. I wouldn't even mind that. That's at least more fair than this is. This is just a stupid system.
At least it's fair. I'm not a huge fan. I understand college just because there's so many games and they got to get through them. But I think it should, special teams should have to play a factor.
For sure.
And that's where I think if you're kicking, if you score a touchdown, you got to kick back, you got to put them in field position, whatever it may be. But I think if they're going to do where the first team scores a touchdown, the other team should at least get a shot to go ahead and score a touchdown.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that. I just think, in a sport that's supposed to be so competitive, let's make it competitive.
Well, okay, since we're talking about that, then what do you think about regular season? Are you okay with ties then?
No, I think growing up, I was always. My argument to kids when they would say soccer's better is, well, at least you can't tie in football.
Yeah, exactly.
And we never saw ties.
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden we see all kinds of ties.
Well, the Vikings had a tie.
The
against
Vikings
Green
had
Bay.
a tie. The Browns had a tie. The Steelers had a tie.
Yeah.
It's a joke. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's dumb. I think that's where we could almost go into regular season. Obviously, we want to preserve bodies and everything. Being a Vikings fan, this is a dumb thing to say. Go ahead and do a kickoff.
For sure.
Just do a kickoff. I mean, you could do your regular, go ahead and score a touchdown. The other team try and score a touchdown. If they end up tied after that, go ahead and go to a kickoff.
Yeah.
As a Vikings fan, that's tough to say, but at least you're not seeing that one in the far right. That's dumb.
It's likened to a shootout in hockey.
In hockey, yeah, exactly.
I don't think that's the stupidest thing.
Well, and the way kickers are going right now, that might make it an exciting end of the game.
It would make it a really exciting end of the game.
So, and who knows? Maybe you would never see the end of the game. Maybe
sure.
that's why it's not there.
Yeah, but I don't know. I agree with that. I think something should be done. Do I think something's going to be done? Absolutely not.
The only thing I see being done, and actually I'm not even going to talk about it because we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we have a question on it later. So now I want to get into the Wild a little bit. So two big things that happened for the Wild this last week. They traded Nino Niederreiter to the Hurricanes for Victor Rask and then a draft pick. And I don't think that this is. I think this is a good move for the Wild.
They had to switch something.
One, Victor Rask is a young guy. Nino Niederreiter's getting up there in age. I think he's like 40. He's early 40s, late 30s. He's an older guy. I don't see a problem with getting rid of him. I think it's good for the Wild. We have this new GM. Said he was going to totally scramble things up. That's what we expected out of him. He didn't do anything for the beginning of the season, and now he ends up doing this. And I think that's good. Another trade that the Wild made is they got Brad Hunt from the Golden Knights and a 6th-round pick in exchange for a 5th-round pick. I think that this is a good move.
Yeah, they needed to switch something up here, and you can really tell that they're starting to play better hockey. They beat the Golden Knights 4-2, and it's amazing to see that the Wild are 4-0-1 against the Golden Knights since they came into the league. But
and 25, 21-3 in
overall record.
Yeah, and I think that's huge for the Wild. I think they started off really hot, and they went to this lull, and I think now they're trying to come out of it. I think they're 6-4 in their last 10 games. So at least they're staying above that point. If the season ended today, they'd be in the last wild card spot, which is a spot they're more than familiar with.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I don't think that this is the biggest thing in the world. That being said, we're still like 10 points behind the Knights, who are the next wild card spot.
Oh, gee, yeah. Then
there's a big gap there. I think we're
gap.
only a point ahead of whoever's behind
us.
So it's a big thing, but.
Yeah, and we'll just do a quick correction there. It looks like Nino Niederreiter. It feels like he's been in the league forever because he's been with the Wild for a long time. He was actually only born in 92, so he's 26.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I think he had – I'm not saying he had to go, but something had to change.
For sure, and I think that – I don't mind that mix-up.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it. As long as we, obviously continue to win, which everybody's going to say. But it's good to see. I think they've won their last 2. So it's good to see that they're
streak. So hopefully we can keep it going. I think the biggest key for them to keep doing well is they have to win more games than they lose. And I think that and obviously stupid statement. But what I mean by this is we can't go on the 5-game winning streak and then a 6-game winning streak.
And now that you say it, it makes absolute sense because if you're gonna lose a game, you got to bounce right back in.
For sure.
You know, it's fine if you lose. It's fine if you're winning 3, 4, 5 games and then losing a game because you're going to drop a game in the NHL.
Or
It's
winning
82
2
game
and losing
season.
1. I mean, at least you're keeping up.
Yeah,
with the
you
trend.
can't go on
Winning
losing
more than you
streaks.
lose.
You can't go on losing streaks
Exactly.
ultimately,
So-
especially where we're sitting and we're going to start getting into the second half of the season. So
For sure. So actually, I wanted to touch on this a little bit. So Crimson Tide quarterback Jalen Hurts is going to transfer to Oklahoma. What do you see this as the effect on just the NCAA in general?
I think this is a great move, and I'm glad they gave him eligibility to play right away. Because, I mean, he's a great quarterback, and I think he got put in kind of a bad situation. This is why I don't really like Nick Saban. I think he should have rode him. I think Jalen Hurts in the Oklahoma system coming off of Murray, he could dominate. He could be a first-round pick next year.
Well, I think that this is what we need to see for somebody to compete against Alabama.
Exactly.
Like, actually compete against Alabama.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree with you there. That's a great move. It'll be nice to see some of it because, we got the powerhouses of Clemson and the Crimson Tide.
Well, off of that point, I think Clemson could take the reins as the number 1.
I actually think that's going to happen.
Dominated, and they have this young quarterback who is
he's a freshman.
Freshman? Yeah. I know I saw all kinds of Instagram posts about him in a Vikings jersey in a couple years.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully we don't have to get to that because of
sure.
Kirk, but
For
no, it's nice to see Clemson kind of take over the reins there, and it'll be nice, if Oklahoma can continue their trend there.
For sure.
If they just need to get the defense figured out, though, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. But it's good that they're replacing their quarterback. I think college needs to be better. Obviously you don't want kids transferring. But if they're good and they can play, they should be able to go wherever they want.
Well, because that's the thing. I mean, he has a starting job. Tagovailoa comes in, and he steals the starting job from him on a performance that, I thought he did great. But, I don't think he was, like, head and shoulders above.
He's mediocre,
Hurts.
I think.
So, I don't know. I think this is good for college football.
They need more teams that can, play with, Clemson and play with Alabama, and I think this kind of does that.
For sure. So now we're going to jump to our questions a little bit. So this is to jump off the championship games. Should there be a change in officiating, like the review aspect of it? This is from Richard in Montana.
In officiating, I think that and this should be any game. Because who knows? I mean, the first game of the season can decide the outcome maybe of a team's playoff chances.
Sure.
Obviously with the Vikings, we were one game out of it.
Well, the Bills. I mean, we win that Bills game.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, there's no controversy in that game. We just got blew out. But
the only thing is when you talk about this, and when we say officiating, we're talking about flags and reviewing flags. I'm assuming that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I think if we get inside 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, it should be reviewable.
I think any time in the game should be reviewable. We have the technology to do it. We're talking about we want to uphold the integrity of the game. I'm fine with this. Review any play that's controversial.
The thing about that, though, is then you could end up getting these, you're opening Pandora's box to say, there's a hold there, there's a hold there. What I think, and I'm gonna go back on myself there. You should anything inside of 2 minutes of the fourth quarter should be reviewed. And it can't be a holding call. We're talking pass interference, maybe face mask, personal fouls, things like that. Definitely roughing the passer, because that roughing the passer on Tom Brady was a joke of a call. But if you're inside 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, you should be able to review it. And it's exactly like throwing a flag. And then you have your 3 challenges. One of them can be for a flag.
See, if I had my way, this is what we'd do. We'd have a bunch of nerds sitting up in a box, and they would all the officials on the field are there to do is keep the peace, throw flags if they see them. But we have people up in a booth who watch the game through a microscope, and every time they do that, they signal down to the field. That would be my.
But are you talking holding calls?
I'm talking everything.
Then you're going to end up seeing a 6-hour game.
I'm fine with that.
I'm saying
then we get an outcome.
It's going to be
that's
absolutely
fair.
legitimate.
Okay. Maybe take holdings out of it because offensive line is a joke anyways. There's holdings.
There's everything.
But I'm talking anytime there's like that pass interference that they called a face mask against Adam Thielen. That's a horse. That was a terrible
against the Bears
call.
you're talking about.
That was a terrible call.
It
was a face mask, sure, but it was a pass interference first.
That was
that's 15-yard penalty versus a 40-yard penalty.
Absolutely.
That's a joke.
But I think that's where your challenge flag could definitely play a part in it. I just feel like if you end up throwing flags or stopping the game, then you're going
But
to
look
have
what
so
it
many
did for
stops.
baseball. Look what it did for baseball. Being able to review that made the game so much better.
But even in baseball, you only get a certain amount.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So we can piggyback off each other.
Yeah.
We'll do reviews on anything possible, but let's limit it.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is it's stupid.
So that's your
Why do we have all these fancy sideline cameras and all that stuff?
So that's like your fantasy, I guess, if you want to say it for the NFL.
Yeah.
What do you think is legitimately going to come from this, though?
I don't think anything is going to come from this.
Really, you don't think?
I don't think anything will come from this. I think that the NFL is too high on their referees, which is a joke. I think the referees are
They're god awful.
What makes them qualified? I get it that they go and they sit there and they can watch a game, but
Well,
I
they
can
go
watch
in
a
these
game too.
schools, but I've never seen any of these schools or
I think
anything.
it's a joke. I think the NFL is way too high on their referees. We need to start holding accountable for their job, because if you go to your job and completely screw it up,
Well, if
you
I'm
get fired.
50% on my job, I get fired.
Exactly.
So,
Unless you're a sportscaster or a weatherman.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think it's stupid. I think it's the dumbest system, and I think the NFL stands too much behind the refs. And
I don't even think it's the NFL. I think it's referees in general. If you watch a freaking basketball game, it is awful.
Yeah.
I think the only sport where referees or umps or whatever you want to call them are held accountable a little bit more is the MLB. Just because, like you're saying, there's a lot more reviewed. Except we're not even getting into balls and strikes because that's just bad. But
see, and I don't think you can change that. I like the
unless you throw up an electronic frame.
Well, I like the aspect of baseball that balls and strikes are fluid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You, as a pitcher, you learn the zone of the ump, and you work.
Well, and as a batter, you can adjust to the zone.
Exactly.
And you can fight things off. If there's a freaking blatant pass interference call, it's not called. That completely changed the game.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the difference between 15 yards and 40 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. So I don't see anything coming from this. I think the one thing that is helping move towards something good is the Saints owner is livid.
Oh yeah,
he
came out and
she's standing behind him.
Yeah.
I mean, she's actually like protesting it openly, which I think was what needs to happen, because what you have is that you have this uniform of executives and everything like that stand together, and if nobody ever says anything, like they're pissed inwardly and everything like that, they want their teams to do well, but they never say anything, and I think that this is the first step to doing something big. On that point too, there was actually a Saints fan who ended up buying billboards in Georgia.
I saw that.
And was protesting that they got screwed and everything. And I mean, I'm all for it. I think that something has to be changed. I don't think anything will, but I hope it happens.
Saying that nothing will, I'm going to counteract you. I think something will come of this. I think it's where it's going to end up being 2 minutes left in the game. They'll be able to review it. Yeah. I'm not sure if they're going to do it for regular season games and playoffs, but I think at least playoff games, this is probably going to be implemented, just because there's been so much on this. But this, I saw Michael Thomas wanting a replay of the game,
and I mean that's not going to happen.
And that's just stupid.
It's stupid.
Then are we going to go back in 2010 and replay the Vikings game against the Saints?
Yeah. I mean, it's just stupid to think about. I mean, obviously mistakes are made.
Happen.
Mistakes are made, and we have to deal with them. But that's the thing, is we can't change anything now, but let's change it going forward.
Let's make it better. And
exactly.
And I saw on a morning show this morning, they were talking about, like we're talking with the refs, they need to be held more accountable, but they're saying, make this a prime job. Make it salary them. Put them on all games, and make them go to school early. If you look at the refs, probably the average age in refs is, 50, 60. Some of them are 70 years old.
Yeah.
You can't keep up with NFL.
You're running down the sideline.
You're wheeling your chair. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, your eyes go. That's the first thing that's going to go is your eyes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we should make this or the NFL should make this a prime spot. And, maybe if you don't make the NFL, give them an opportunity to go into the, officiating.
For sure.
And, if you have to bump salaries, the NFL can bump salaries for the refs and not feel it.
No.
So, I mean, maybe make this a prime spot.
Not to mention it's going to make
the
game more enjoyable for everybody, so they're going to get more people coming to the games, whatever, watching the games,
Better officiating is going to make the game better.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it sounds dumb, but that's it. I mean, as a fan of Vikings football, I'm never going to not watch the Vikings.
Yeah.
But there have been games random games in the NFL where the officiating has made me turn the game off.
For sure.
It's that frustrating.
Or
it
that
needs
it's made
to
you
change.
so mad watching the Vikings games that you better duck
that
and
stuff
cover.
exactly. That stuff gets thrown.
Exactly.
So I mean, something needs to change.
For sure. So we could talk about that forever. We're gonna move on from it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, sore subject. NFL should be embarrassed.
They should be
Is
embarrassed.
my last
That's the bottom line. They should be embarrassed.
For sure. And so now we're gonna talk about the effect of the Machado Harper, not a holdout, but they're waiting for
Kind
big
of a
money.
holdout.
Yeah.
I think this is huge for the MLB. I think everybody's kind of watching to see what's going to happen. I saw the White Sox just offered Machado, I think it was $170
and then there's
million.
controversy in there too, because people are saying that the number's low and whatever, and then it's trying to like bait people into getting there. And I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with Machado getting at 170. I think he's about that. The thing I see is, Bryce Harper getting 200, 300 million. Bryce Harper's not worth that.
Fine, pay him that. The Twins better not.
The Twins,
but I don't
yeah,
care who pays him.
Yeah, I mean, he hit 240, 230.
230, and he hits 30 home runs.
That's ridiculous. He doesn't
That's
deserve.
a dime a dozen in
I
the
like
MLB.
Bryce Harper. He's fun to watch.
Yeah.
But he hits 240.
Exactly.
I'm not paying a guy $300 million to hit
at most
240.
40 home runs.
Yeah, I mean,
can find somebody.
you can
else
go find
to do that.
Logan Morrison on a good year, hit 50 home runs
Exactly.
at any 190 or whatever
Yeah.
he ends up, and pay him $10 million a year.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous. That's just stupid.
And I think, okay, so I saw this, I think it was Chris Bryant from the Cubs was saying that that he stands behind them doing this. And I think it's bad for the MLB. He's saying that they're right in holding out for big contracts. What is a big I mean, you think you're worth $200 million?
Nobody
That's a joke.
Nobody in the U.S. is worth $300 million. That's just stupid money.
Yeah, I think it's dumb.
It comes to the point where it's a pissing contest, really. It's just a pissing contest.
Well, do you like baseball or do you just like money?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. It's an absolute pissing contest. It's just dumb.
The biggest thing I see is like one of the things that most upset me with players now in the MLB was when Greinke moved on from the Dodgers. The Dodgers offered him a respectable salary.
Yeah.
But he went to the Diamondbacks because they offered him more.
Yeah.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Let's go from the Dodgers, who are competing for the World Series every single season, to the Diamondbacks, who got rid of JD Martinez and got rid of everybody, and now they suck. I mean, they're bottom of the barrel.
But it's nice.
But it's all
I
for
agree
money.
with you. I absolutely agree with you. Money is getting ridiculous, especially in baseball. It's horrid. But it's nice to see guys go to teams that are, wild card, maybe even below wild card and try to make a difference. At least they're trying to make a difference in a team. They're not like basketball where they're putting together these super teams.
For sure. I think it's bad for the whole sport in the end.
These contracts are getting ridiculous.
Well, I think so too.
And they're just going to just keep getting worse. You got to cap. Somebody's got to cap this.
For sure.
I mean, they got to at least be like the NFL and cap it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the NFL, being a Vikings fan, I like to see that cap go up, but
For sure.
But it's getting ridiculous.
I don't know. I mean,
But I mean, if you think about it, Bryce Harper and Machado, you're taking $200-300 million contracts. It's me. How are you supposed to build a team around somebody that has a $300 million contract?
I don't want to play with that guy.
I'm fine playing with that guy, but like, what else? What other pieces
But the money's
are you trying to
coming
get
out of
there?
my contract then.
Yeah,
If it's going towards his, it's coming out of mine.
I would
and
much
if I'm
rather
sitting there hitting 320 with 12 home runs and putting up respectable RBI numbers and whatever, and this guy's hitting 230 with 30 home runs, I'm gonna be a little pissed off.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just like we're saying, it's a me thing right now, and it's ridiculous. And that's what I've loved about the Twins, especially Joe Mauer.
Yeah, he could have gone anywhere else and gotten more money.
Exactly.
I guarantee it.
Exactly.
But the Twins won. Were respectable and they gave him good money.
Yeah,
That's my
especially
thing.
for the time, man. I
Exactly.
think it was like an $80 million contract.
For sure, and I think that's big. And I think that his loyalty, whatever. I mean, say what you want, Joe Mauer doesn't put up home runs, but his average, his career average is over 300.
He's easily one of the best players in the MLB,
For
I
sure.
believe.
For sure. And I mean, just
And that's another topic that we could just talk about.
For
I
sure.
didn't even think it was going to go there.
I didn't
But either way, it's going to be interesting to see what they get for contracts. It's kind of fun to watch in that aspect, but he's not a team player.
Where do you see Machado ending up?
Machado, I could see Machado maybe to the White Sox just because the White Sox are going to have money to spend, obviously. Bryce Harper, I could see Bryce Harper staying with the Nats.
See, I see Bryce Harper moving on somewhere big. I could see him going to L.A.
New York.
Yeah, New York. But in the end, I think I see Harper going to L.A.
I think if he goes anywhere, it'll probably be the Phillies.
Yeah.
The thing and we're talking about loyalty here. So the cool thing about the Phillies, and this is just what I've heard, is that they're gonna wait until Trout for next year because his contract's done with the Angels next year, and Trout's a Philly boy. So
Yeah.
they're going to try and get him over in Philly, and that's where I like that loyalty.
And that's what I'm talking about. I mean, if I'm going to pay $200 million for somebody, it's going to be Trout.
Well, and that's the thing, because he's going to come back to his hometown, and he's going to want to play.
Well, and he hits over 300 with
Trout
40,
is the
50
best position player in the game right now.
Yeah.
I think Machado. I think he's way above Machado. He's way above.
I think Machado is
Bryce
up there,
Harper.
though. I think out of Machado and Harper, Machado's the better.
Oh,
I
I
would
would
spend the money on Machado
I would
before
absolutely
I
agree
spend
because
my
you're going to get the defense.
And outfielders are a dime a dozen.
Oh, absolutely. Machado, depending on third base, shortstop, that's going to be big for him as well.
Yeah.
Because he's good either way. He's Gold Glover either way.
Either
But
position.
I think Trout blows both of them out of the water. He's a good guy. He hits over. He hits 320. Hits 30 home runs. Steals 20 bases. Plays tremendous outfield.
If I'm the Dodgers, I'm going to offer Machado a contract. Because what I see the Dodgers could do and build this great is they have Turner at third base, Machado at short, Seager, who's coming off a shoulder injury, move him from shortstop to second base, which is going to be better for his arm.
Yeah.
And then you got Muncy at first or Bellinger at first. That's an amazing lineup.
But
we're going back to the World Series.
Yeah, but that comes back to the money.
For sure, but I don't think I don't think there's any stretch of the imagination that the Dodgers couldn't afford.
Yeah. No, I
They
agree.
have one of the most wealthy. They have one of the most wealthy ownership programs.
Yeah,
they'll be
and
fine.
I mean that just goes back to the Twins. The Twins need to start spending money,
For
but not $200-300 million.
I don't want either one of them. They're
Yeah,
not worth that
no,
much.
I know exactly.
All right, we'll move on from that. Talk about it all day. So, what would a win for the Gophers tonight do for their season? This is from Mike in Minnesota.
Like we touched on it earlier, and I think this could definitely be a big point to catapult the Gophers into the top 25. But honestly, I think this is a big game just to get them back into the conversation of the tournament.
For sure.
That loss to Illinois, that's going to be a bad loss.
For sure. But, I mean, I think at even 14-5, if they keep playing well towards the end of the season, they got a couple tough games coming up.
Yeah,
I think they have Michigan State coming up.
Yep.
It's going to be tough, but I mean, I still see them making the playoffs even if they don't win this game, even if they drop the game to Michigan State. I think they'll still be in the running for it.
This just wouldn't be a bad loss, the big
For
thing.
sure.
I
I mean,
think
it's a
just
number
with
5
this
team.
loss, with this win, if we win tonight, it could really, it could offset that loss to
Well, and
Illinois
it could
they
throw in
dominated
some
us.
momentum going through towards the
for
rest
sure,
of the season.
for
So,
sure.
I mean, it would be great, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about prediction for the Wild season.
I see the Wild maybe making getting that second wild card spot, but honestly, it's going to be 7 seasons in a row for the playoffs, and that's amazing. That's awesome. I don't see him going anywhere.
Yeah, I see them making the playoffs again this year. I mean, unless there's some big shakeup that happens, I see them making the first round, and then
Let's just say this: I have more hope for the Twins than I do the Wild right now.
that's for.
It's tough to watch the Wild play.
It is. I mean, they're just so up and down. It's a matter of inconsistency.
But,
so.
that's just typical Minnesota sports.
For sure. So, anyways, this is where we're going to end the podcast for today. Join us again next week. We'll talk about a little bit more about the Super Bowl,
Pro Bowl,
all that stuff. Join us next week. If you have any questions, email us at northstarsportscast@gmail.com. Leave a like, subscribe, comments, whatever you want to do.
We appreciate it, guys.